Good afternoon and welcome to Word on the Street. My name is David Dix. I am the co-founder and president of Luminous Strategies and an NBPLA board member. On this episode, we have the illustrious Chelsi Bennett, policy lead at Block and one of our most ardent supporters and sponsors of NBPLA. Chelsi, without further ado, would you introduce yourself?
David, thank you so much, and to the National Black Professional Lobbyists Association for this opportunity. As you shared, I am the public policy lead for Block for the Eastern region. I lead a 25-state government relations program, and this March will be 3 years that I have been with Block, focused on all things economic empowerment. Outside of Block, I am engaged with NBPLA, as you know, as well as I have the awesome opportunity to serve as First Lady of my church, serving alongside my husband. I lead a nonprofit that provides supplies to new and expecting moms facing difficulties, and just really on a journey of wellness and sharing that message with all those around me.
Well, it's amazing to have you, and I'm looking forward to a great discussion. Now a little bit about Block. Block is an ecosystem of ecosystems consisting of Square, Cash App, Afterpay, Tidal, and many apps to be developed. Economic empowerment is our uniting purpose and defines the work they do, removing barriers to the economy to help expand access for everyone. Chelsi, it's a real honor to have you, such a loyal and ardent supporter of NBPLA, on here. But many of the names that I've listed with Block may be very familiar to folks, and others might not be so much. Can you give the audience a brief overview of Block and the various components within its ecosystem, such as Square, Cash App, Afterpay, Tidal, and some apps to be developed?
Yes, well, let me just give you history on Square. It's how we started 14 years ago with a little white card reader. And since then, we have grown and developed into a one-stop shop for small business owners. 14 years ago, one of our co-founders was trying to sell hand-blown glass and was not able to accept a credit card payment. And so that is how Square was birthed, truly with the eyes on wanting to empower small businesses and being able to provide them with access to the financial economy. So now when you think about us, you not only think about the point of sale devices, but we also offer business loans, savings and checkings accounts, credit cards, debit cards. And so that is how we got our start at Square. As you mentioned, we're also Cash App, which many people may be familiar with in all the services that it provides. Cash App and Afterpay are our one-stop shop on the consumer side. Then we have Tidal, which is our music streaming company, which is focused on empowering musicians and artists. And then we have TBD, which is our newest business unit, which is focused on building decentralized infrastructure that will enable everyone to access and participate in the global economy. And ultimately, what that means is that we're thinking about giving people access to their everyday data. So think your financial data, your medical data, licenses, etc. And then one of our latest initiatives that we're proud of is BitKey, which is our self-custody Bitcoin wallet. And that has been available for pre-order in 95 countries.
That's incredible. And really to hear about TBD and some of the ways it can aggregate all of our data into one place sounds like something I certainly need. How does economic empowerment define the core mission of Block? And what are some specific initiatives or projects that reflect this mission?
So economic empowerment is our purpose. It's the lens by which we create and innovate on all of our products and services. And so as we were just talking about some of the brands, David, you can see our purpose threaded throughout. You know, we are focused on breaking down barriers and closing gaps on economic disparities. For an example, Square loans. 1 in 4 individuals were rejected by big banks or deterred from the application process. 1 in 4, David. Then when we look at how our product has been able to positively impact small business owners, I think about people of color. We've approved a higher percentage, 32% versus 27% with traditional lenders. Then when we look at the population of women that we've been able to improve, we've approved 51% of women which is outstanding compared to the industry average of 17%.
It really is. I mean, I'm actually coming up with more questions as I hear you describe it. It really sounds like cutting edge technology that's really going to, if not take the place of banks, kind of change the way we interface with our own money.
Yes, that is the goal, to be able to give consumers and small business owners, artists, musicians, developers access to the financial economy, give them the knowledge and tools so that they're able to make informed decisions about how they want to handle their money.
Yeah. All of us got a chance to hear Chelsi's incredible bio and all the ways that her work before this led her to this position with Block. But I'd love you to share a little bit about your own journey and how it aligns with Block's goals. You obviously feel good about where you are and you're doing great work. How does your life journey bring you to the place you are, and how does your goals align with Block's goals?
So, David, statistically, I should not be sitting where I am today. And for that, I'm grateful that the odds stacked against me were not the final indicator of my future and where I am. I grew up in the urban core of Jacksonville, Florida, and I was born to two teenage parents in the 80s. And so there was no TV show, reality show about teenage parents. It was actually a very challenging time for my mom in my early years of life, especially because my father was incarcerated. Yet at a very early age, I felt that I had a greater responsibility to give back to my community. I'm here talking to you today. I was also known to talk a lot in class and have the answers for everything, but that led to me being tested academically, and I was tested gifted and had the opportunity to skip 2 grades. My mom only agreed to 1. Sometimes I wish she would have allowed me to skip the 2nd grade as well, so I would have been a little bit further. But through that experience, I knew that in where I grew up and what I was seeing around me, I knew that I was called to be a voice for the voiceless, especially for those in marginalized communities and who had been marginalized by systemic injustices. And so that led me to want to be an attorney and to be in public service. And I can share that I have achieved both. I am an attorney by training, and back in my hometown, I had the privilege to serve as a local elected official. So when I think back on my journey, there are 3 things that I see. I see grace, I see community support, and I see access, right? And I remember my great grandmother keeping her life savings in a shoebox under her bed because of a lack of trust in the financial system. But then I also remember when I was older going to the bank, the credit union, a local credit union there in Jacksonville, with my grandmother weekly for her to cash her paycheck. And so what I saw throughout my life was firsthand the impact of knowledge and accessibility on my community, and particularly in these instances, financial knowledge and accessibility. And so I have always wanted to be able to utilize my experiences to empower other people. And so I am at a place where I'm able to help them financially with financial information, financial tools. And when I look at Block's mission, which is to provide access to the financial economy, that deeply resonated with me, and their purpose of economic empowerment aligns with my life's mission of empowering others.
Yeah, and thank you for that. But just a little deeper, could you tell me a little bit about your personal connection to Block's purpose and of economic empowerment, and what inspired you to join the organization? You had such an illustrious career leading up to your time with Block. What made you make that leap of faith and move to areas to come on with Block and kind of bolster what they're trying to do?
Well, when I saw the role of leading a 25-state government relations program for a financial technology company, I personally connected with this opportunity because I saw it as an opportunity to be a part of increasing and normalizing access to the financial economy and financial knowledge. And while that all sounds good, what deeply, deeply resonated with me, David, was knowing that through the products and services through Block, that it is giving people the opportunity to truly build generational wealth. And for many, it's helping them towards a path of freedom from living paycheck to paycheck because they have the knowledge and tools to be able to better handle their money. And so at the core of who I am, I desire to do work that's impactful. And when I am able to advocate for policies that support economic empowerment, and more importantly for me personally, support those who grew up like me, who look like me, I consider it a successful day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can just attest to my experience with Block and some of its products that it really has created avenues out of poverty for so many members of my family and given us an opportunity not only just to communicate more effectively, but to communicate about finances and money in a really effective way as a family. So for that, I really appreciate some of the work that you guys have done at Block.
Well, I love
Um,
to hear that. Those real life stories are so important to the work that I do in knowing how our products are truly benefiting those that we aim to serve.
Yeah, and to that point, Block has a very strong focus on financial inclusion. Can you elaborate a little bit on the strategies or efforts that Block is undertaking to make financial services more accessible to a broader audience?
Yes, one effort that comes to mind is Block's $100 million investment in support of minority and underserved communities.
I think you
And
might have to say that again. That's a big number.
it's $100 million investment in support of minority and underserved communities. And the way in which we've been doing this is by depositing funds into community development financial institutions, also known as CDFIs, and minority depository institution, also known as MDIs, in communities across the country. And so, what this means, I've shared these acronyms, but what this means is that we are providing capital to CDFIs and MDIs, and it helps in these under-resourced communities. Think about it helping someone be able to purchase a home for the first time, or to finally launch their business. These are the ripple effects that we see when we are making the deposits into local communities. Another way in which we are moving forward with our vision of financial inclusion is in the work that I do every day. Investing time with policymakers, educating them, helping them understand our products, who we are, how they benefit our constituents, and if there happens to be a piece of legislation in front of them or piece of regulation, how that particular regulation or legislation will impact us. Many of our products are new and nascent, David. We're in this space of breaking down barriers and doing things that are new and different for everyday Americans. And so in that, for instance, when you think about Bitcoin, you think about our buy now, pay later product, our self-custody wallet. These are things that are new and innovative. And so when I sit down with a policymaker, whether that is in person or virtually these days, I first and foremost, I'm showing up to be a thought partner, to be a resource to them, and to provide them with the opportunity just to have an ongoing open dialogue about who we are, what our products are, different policies. And so that allows us to be able to continue to offer our products and services. It allows us to continue to innovate with our products and services. And through that, we are continuing to fulfill our vision of financial inclusion.
Thank you for that. You just brought up a point that I've been very, very curious about. It's that BNPL, so the buy now, pay later services. They've have gained tremendous prominence over recent years. How does Block view BNPL as a tool for economic empowerment, and what are the challenges and opportunities in this particular sector?
So we acquired Afterpay in 2022, excuse me, which is a buy now, pay later company. The mission of Afterpay is really simple: create pro-consumer payment options that are safer, more cost-effective, and more transparent than traditional credit products. And so the original Afterpay product was really, really simple as well. Consumers could buy a service or product and pay it over time. And so that was typically 6 or 8 weeks in 4 installments with no interest. And so this product was designed to help people make responsible installment purchases that were low value transactions. We now have other financing options as well that are interest bearing and for larger transactions. For us, and when we acquired Afterpay, and what made Afterpay unique was some of the built-in consumer safeguards, such as your spending limits start out low, usually $200. Your maximum outstanding balance is going to be $3,000, David, and that is typically for our more reserved users who have consistently paid over time. Unlike credit cards, if you miss a payment, we are going to pause your account. We want to prevent users from overspending and getting trapped in a cycle of debt. If a user happens to not pay, we don't report that to the credit bureaus, and we're not selling that debt to third parties. There's no interest or finance charge. And what we saw from our data in the first quarter of 2022 was that 98% of Afterpay purchases did not incur a late fee. 98%. And so we have seen the positive impacts of our products on particularly our buy now, pay later product on the lives of everyday Americans, giving them the option and giving them the tools to be able to handle their money in a way which fits them, their budget, their particular situation. And then, when we look at this from a national perspective, the CFPB released a report that talked about buy now, pay later and said that it imposes significantly lower direct financial costs on consumers than legacy credit products.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we both know, how much those credit reports can really affect your financial future. And
Yes.
My lifelong experience gives me some experience with layaway programs. When you really wanted something, you put a little bit down and then pay towards it. But never could I take it home with me on the first day and then pay it off. So this is a really unique program that I know is going to help so many folks. With the evolving regulatory landscape around cryptocurrencies and BNPL services, how does Block navigate these changes and ensure that its mission of economic empowerment remains aligned with the regulatory requirements and industry best practices?
It's 3:00.
I can ask that again if you missed it. I'll try again. With the evolving regulatory landscape around cryptocurrencies and BNPL services, how does Block navigate these changes and ensure that its mission of economic empowerment remains aligned with regulatory requirements and industry best practices?
So, David, we are in the business of providing businesses, consumers, artists, musicians, developers access to the financial economy. And so we support regulation that is a healthy balance between consumer protection and innovation. It is so important as we look at policies and regulation that it not only accounts for where industry is today, but it provides room for growth and innovation, because growth and innovation at the end of the day from the products and services that we are providing is for the betterment of consumers and their financial health. And so we engage with legislators and regulators directly through our trades. And I find that when I sit down with them, I want to share the knowledge that I have and just truly be a resource for them and their staff. Because typically when a bill or a regulation is introduced, it came from somewhere. It was an idea from somewhere, from a constituent. And I want to know, what was that constituent's experience? Typically, sometimes it's a negative experience, but how can we better understand, but also inform the lawmaker as well as the constituent on a product or service offerings? Because sometimes when bills and legislation are introduced, it's not directly at one of our products, but it impacts our products. So for an example, when I think about buy now, pay later, which we were just talking about, something that legislators and staff or regulators may not immediately come to mind is that these products, while they're newer to the market, they're subject to existing laws. Think consumer protection laws, regulations against anti-money laundering, fair lending, credit reporting, debt collection, privacy, and so many more. And so we take the opportunity to sit down, to educate, to answer questions, to understand what brought about, a particular bill, and how can we make the bill, in some instances, how can we make the bill better so that we can continue to offer the great products and services that we do.
And I've had firsthand experience watching you, Chelsi, kind of walk through legislators with these really weighty and heavy financial issues and regulatory issues, and be able to kind of give them a sense of understanding on these issues. Can you tell me, maybe what are some of the natural questions that most legislators ask about your industry or about your company? And what are some of the ways, and legislators, if you want to highlight a few, that you've worked with them to help develop sound policy for the industry?
Yes, one of the first things that comes up is who is Block. We changed our name back in 2021. And so when I say Square, the little white card reader, many people know us. They know us Cash App, they know Title from Jay-Z, who now sits on our board. So that is, one of the first questions that's asked, and just to be able to provide an understanding of who we are. Then I walk them, David, through our products, similar to how we start off this conversation, sharing a little bit about our story, how we started, sharing the many applications and benefits of our services. When we think about Cash App, think about during the pandemic. When you sign up for Cash App and you go through our Know Your Customer procedure, you're provided with an account and routing number. You're provided the opportunity to receive a free debit card. And so for many people who lived in different communities, who didn't have access to a brick and mortar bank, or just during the time when we were not able or should not have been leaving our house often, Cash App was a financial tool that allowed people to be able to access many of the services and funds that were coming down during that time. For them to continue to sustain life. And so there have been so many benefits and case studies for many of our different products of how it has benefited those that we intend to serve. When I think about legislators that I've been able to work with, I cover 25 states. And so there are so many that I have been able to work with throughout the years. And what I have found to be impactful is being able to build those solid relationships. I like to show up as myself, to show up authentic, to show up and being very real with lawmakers. I know lawmakers are people. They are just like me and you. And so they are there to do a job. They're there to represent a constituency. And so I show up to be able to bring them information, education, and be able to answer their questions. And I have found that that goes a long way in not only addressing a particular bill or legislation, but also building a long-lasting relationship.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you've seen over the breadth of your career a huge surge in diversity, both on our side as lobbyists, but also on the leadership of legislators' side. Seeing the way that legislators across the country have browned a bit and gotten more female in their leadership has to be very encouraging to kind of walk through that path as a professional. Can you give us an insight on how that's been, that experience, both seeing the diversity expand on the contract lobbying and lobbying side, government affairs side, but also seeing the diversity expand on the legislative leadership side?
So yes, legislative leaders, one of the first people that comes to mind, who I know you know as well, is Pennsylvania Speaker of the House, Joanna McClinton. It has been great to be in the room with her, whether it's networking or sitting down to discuss policy. And so that has been encouraging to see her and so many others. I also do work with our attorney generals as well. And so, being able to meet Nevada AG, Attorney General Ford, or being able to sit down and have a conversation with General Campbell, it has just been breathtaking to see the diversity, to see people who look like me, who may have similar experiences growing up, may not, but to see them with a passion in public service, to want to be able to have positive impact and change. When I think about it from a lobbyist perspective, it has been great to be a part of the National Black Professional Lobbyists Association. Because while I'm on the circuit for many of these legislative and AG meetings, it is so refreshing at the conference for us all to be gathered, to see each other, not discussing a bill, but just being able to have a conversation about our journey, our experiences, and how we can partner together and work together. And so I have loved to see these conferences, love to see the diversity, but not only diversity in us being African Americans, but also diversity in age. I am beginning to age out of young professional, and so with that, seeing some of our younger members and their activity and their interest and their passion and their questions, and truly being able to be a mentor to them, like so many others who are giants in lobbying have been mentors to me.
Yeah, that mentorship piece is really strong and something I want to lift up because, Chelsi, whether you know it, I'm sure you do, you're an incredible example to Black women who want to be in this space and really show with confidence someone who can operate, not lose their integrity, stay and contribute in ways that are very, very meaningful given your background and experience. So I want you to use this show as an example for what's possible for a Black woman from Florida, and what's possible with so many others who come behind us. As you say, we're aging out of that young professional. We're kind of in the middle young professional sector. And I think we have to oftentimes like be intentional to hold up the example that we are, to show that the landscape was different when we got it than we're leaving it for others. And it really is a more fertile ground for folks to have success behind us.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I do want to spend some time kind of talking about anything we may have missed with Block. It's such a huge and comprehensive company that touches so many aspects of our lives, particularly around finance, that I wanted to make sure if there's anything I hadn't asked, that you're able to lift those things up, but also to give some color to the conversation in terms of all the great things that Block is doing and you're able to do as their policy lead.
Yeah, there are two additional things I'll hit on just for awareness of who we are. You know, here at Block, we believe in Bitcoin and the impact that it's going to have as a economic empowerment tool and as global currency for the internet. Here at Block, we not only allow consumers to buy and sell Bitcoin on Cash App, but we also, David, have Bitcoin on our books. And so with that and that investment and how we're looking at Bitcoin, we truly see the opportunity for Bitcoin to change the world. And so what does that look like in everyday life? We're thinking about people who have no credit history, who cannot open bank accounts, thinking about people living in places with limited access to bank accounts. We're thinking about populations that have historically been discriminated against, and Bitcoin has the opportunity to truly help level that playing field and build a more inclusive future. And so one of the ways that we're giving back in the Bitcoin space is through our Bitcoin Endowment Fund. That is $5 million, and it is funded on the interest of a portion of our corporate Bitcoin holdings. And so we utilize that funding to provide individuals and organizations working toward education, Bitcoin education and adoption in historically under-resourced communities across the globe. And we accept applications on a rolling basis for those organizations and individuals. And what I find really cool about this particular fund is that when those applications come in, David, there's a cross-functional team of Block employees that review them and then select our grantees. And so we're looking at it from a holistic perspective of what that Bitcoin education adoption is looking like in our local communities. The other thing that I'll hit on, and it's a subject that I have been digging into lately because of the fact that I am helping lead our development of our global AI policy, global policy principles. And so here at Block, we are doing a good deal of work around artificial intelligence. We're truly looking to see how we can utilize it to innovate and enhance the services that we provide to our small business owners, our consumers, developers, artists, and musicians. And so it is a field that's growing. And we're lobbyists. So I did want to take a moment to just share a little bit about what's happening in the AI space from a policy perspective, because I believe that this is a topic that many in our industry, we have to make sure that we are paying attention to it, no matter what our particular interests may be, or who our clients are. AI is truly everywhere. Mm-hmm. So in 2023, we saw over 25 states, Puerto Rico and DC, that introduced AI bills. 18 states and Puerto Rico adopted a resolution or enacted some type of legislation. Think AI Advisory Council, think bills limiting the use of AI and deepfakes in political ads, which we know is important because it's that time of the year again. There were states directing access to use of AI, what that looks like. We've seen bills reviewing data privacy in AI and intellectual property rights. And so there's a lot happening. You even saw governors issue executive orders on AI. We saw an executive order from the White House. There were many bills introduced on the federal level. None of them reached the floor, but I can tell you there will continue to be education and advocacy in DC. And then from a global perspective, the EU is set to become the first comprehensive AI policy Last year, they announced that they had come to a policy agreement. And so now they're working through the technical agreement. And then the Australian government just recently released a response to a 2023 report talking about the safe and responsible use of AI. And so that policy landscape is so important for my fellow lobbyists and for legislators to know just the how expansive this policy area is, where it's going, what legislators are thinking about. And here at Block, we're using AI in several ways. Tidal, they collaborated with Humane AI on a wearable device. Cash App continues to use it to explore ways to improve recommendations and just your experience when you're using the app. And then Square last fall released several different Gen AI capabilities, from helping small business owners be able to create a full menu in just minutes, helping businesses create auto-generated product descriptions with website copy. AI is here. And as I shared during my fireside chat at the National Black Caucus of State Legislators, AI is here. AI is here to stay. It's so important for us to be involved, engaged, listening, and learning now. And as I shared then as well, as people and legislators are looking at legislation, I encourage you to bring companies, private individuals to the table to learn more about how they're utilizing AI, so that as legislation is being formed and being crafted, you have a true stakeholder point of view to understand the benefits, to understand how people are utilizing it, to understand how companies are thinking about their future roadmap. Because at the end of the day, for companies like Block, we are good actors. We want to be good actors in this space. We want to continue to provide good products and services for the people that we serve. And we do that when we're able to operate in cities and states and countries across the globe.
Well, that's heavy. And I think the two biggest buzzwords of 2023 going into 2024 are, cryptocurrency and AI, right? So it's great to have an expert really kind of explain those things and how they touch each and all of our lives. You brought up something in your answer that I wanted to expound about just for a little bit longer if we can. It's the fact that you're a global company. So we've talked a lot about the 25 states that you operate in and some of the ways that Block has had impact in the United States. Can you touch a little again about, you mentioned the EU's policies around AI, Australia's. Can you talk about Block being a global company and some of the ways that it's found its footprint in other places in the world?
Yes. What makes us impactful, specifically on the policy team, is the colleagues that I have across the globe, the work that they're doing, whether it's in Australia or the EU or Japan. They are there on the ground. They're thinking about those we service. And so in many of these countries, we're looking at the Square product or Afterpay or ClearPay, as it's called in the UK. We are looking at policies and looking to see how they impact our products and services, just like I do in my 25 state region. And so they have been able to be successful engaging with their local governments, engaging and at the table at an important roundtables with legislative leaders, so that we can, again, just like I do, share how our product operates. In some of our products are different. There are major differences than others who may be in our same field, but we are at the table to advocate for those that we serve. And so we've been able to see, again, success globally with our work. And I think that just goes to the point of why so many people are here at Block. It's because they truly believe in the purpose of economic empowerment. No matter what brand they may be attached to, a particular product that they are helping to build and to maintain, they know that the work that we do truly has an impact on people's lives. People being able to send money to their kids who are in college, being able to send money to family in a different country, being able to truly be there and be a resource, a financial resource for themselves and their family.
No, there's no question after hearing from you and learning so much that we did over the last 45 minutes around Block that you are essentially the company that's creating economic empowerment in the globe, and most certainly here in the United States. As I've said, there's been so many touch points where I've had an opportunity to use, particularly the Cash App product, to get resources to family members and loved ones. Certainly during the pandemic, when movement was at an all-time low, but even coming out of the pandemic, we found ways to kind of continue that connection through your applications, through Block's application. So appreciate the time, and I definitely appreciate the thoroughness with which you went through all the great work that you do. Want to use the last time that we have together to kind of lift up some of the key factors that we've talked about today, particularly around Block's commitment to economic empowerment, but some of the ways that you're doing that. I'd love for you to touch back on what your connection with CDFIs and how you've committed $100 million to that program, and some of the things that we should be looking forward to out of Block in 2024 and beyond.
Yes, well, it is the beginning and the top of the year. We are just getting started. I am looking forward to seeing how we will continue to impact communities across the country, whether that is through funding, through partnership and resources. We have a team here at Block that works on those items. And so we are continuing to be impactful. Again, this is the top of the year, the legislative sessions. And so digging into bills to read them, see how they potentially can impact us, and continue those conversations with legislators to ensure that we can continue to offer the great products that we have, and the ones that are on the roadmap to come. Because at the end of the day, for us at Block, it's all about economic empowerment and providing people with access to the financial economy.
Well, thank you again so much, Chelsea, for sharing your insights and expertise with us this afternoon. I encourage everybody who's watching to visit Block's website for more information about the great work they do. And I want to thank you, Block, Chelsea, and all of our NBPLA sponsors for being so committed to the work that we're doing here.